Welcome, sports fans, to what might just be the most unprecedented, jaw-dropping story in the tennis world right now. We are witnessing an absolute phenomenon, a monumental shift in how global sports fandom operates, and it is all centered around one phenomenal young athlete. Prepare yourselves, because the nation of Germany and the prestigious WTA Tour are about to experience something they have never, ever seen before. Alexandra Eala, the teenage tennis sensation from the Philippines, is heading to Stuttgart, Germany, and she is not coming alone. She is bringing an entire nation with her. According to the latest jaw-dropping reports, an estimated 60,000 Filipinos are preparing to descend upon Stuttgart to attend every single match Alex Eala plays. Yes, you heard that right. 60,000 passionate, roaring, incredibly dedicated Filipino fans are about to turn a prestigious German tennis tournament into a massive, unforgettable festival of Philippine pride. This is not just breaking news. This is a historic cultural invasion. When we talk about tennis, we usually envision quiet stadiums, polite applause, and a very reserved, almost pristine atmosphere. But all those long-standing traditions are about to be thrown completely out the window. The absolute shockwaves currently reverberating through the international tennis community cannot be overstated. Tournament organizers in Stuttgart are reportedly scrambling, utterly stunned by the unprecedented ticket demands, the massive surge in hotel bookings, and the sheer volume of excitement radiating from the global Filipino diaspora. To put this astounding number into perspective, 60,000 people is enough to pack a massive, world-class football stadium to the absolute brim. It is an ocean of humanity, and this incredible surging sea of supporters is mobilized with one single, unified, and powerful purpose: to cheer on their hometown hero, Alexandra Eala, as she continues her incredible, meteoric rise to the ranks of professional women's tennis. Imagine the incredibly vibrant scene that is about to unfold in Germany. The usually tranquil, highly structured streets of Stuttgart will be awash in the brilliant colors of the Philippine flag. You will see the striking blue, the passionate red, the pure white, and the golden yellow sun shining on every corner, in every plaza, and all around the tennis complex. The local German economy is bracing for an absolute tsunami of activity. Restaurants, hotels, transportation hubs, and local businesses are about to experience the legendary spending power, the immense joy, and the celebratory nature of the Filipino community firsthand. But beyond the astonishing economic impact, this is fundamentally a story about heart. This is about the undeniable, unbreakable spirit of the overseas Filipino worker, the global Filipino citizen, who sees in Alex Eala a perfect reflection of their own hard work, their own daily struggles, and their own ultimate triumphs on the international stage. Every powerful forehand she hits, every crucial point she wins, will be met with deafening roar of approval that will echo far beyond the walls of the tennis arena and resonate all the way back to the islands of Philippines. This massive, highly organized mobilization of 60,000 fans is completely rewriting the fundamental rules of what it means to have a home court advantage in professional sports. In the intensely competitive world of tennis, players often talk about how the crowd can give them that extra 10%, that invisible boost of energy needed to overcome intense physical fatigue and secure a grueling victory. For Alex Eala, she will not just have a minor boost. She will have a veritable hurricane of positive energy propelling her forward with every single step she takes on the clay. Her opponents will not just be playing against a highly skilled, fiercely competitive, and incredibly talented young woman. They will be playing against an entire nation that has effectively squeezed itself into the very heart of Europe. The psychological impact of this reality simply cannot be ignored or downplayed. We have seen exactly what Filipino crowds can do in the brutal worlds of professional boxing and the high-flying arenas of international basketball. They have a well-documented history of transforming foreign, hostile arenas into massive home games for sporting legends like Manny Pacquiao or the Gilas Pilipinas national basketball team. Now, for the first time in sporting history, that exact same overwhelming, passionately loud, and endlessly supportive energy is being transplanted straight into the elite, highly competitive, and traditionally quiet world of professional tennis. So, how did we actually get here? How did a young girl from the Philippines manage to command the unwavering attention and the physical presence of 60,000 people on the completely opposite side of the planet? What does this unprecedented migration of fans mean for her budding career? for the logistics of the tournament in Stuttgart, and for the entire future of Philippine sports on the global stage. Stick around, because we are about to break down every single angle, every nuance, and every implication of this extraordinary story. We will dive incredibly deep into Alexandra Eala's fascinating journey, the absolute logistical miracle of this massive fan mobilization, and the profound, long-lasting impact this will have on the landscape of international tennis. Grab a seat, settle in, and get comfortable, because this is the ultimate deep dive into the absolute takeover of Stuttgart by the Philippines. To truly understand the sheer magnitude of the 60,000-strong Stuttgart surprise, we have to look closely at the spectacular, inspiring trajectory of Alexandra Eala's career. She is not just another tennis player. She is a trailblazer, a genuine pioneer carrying the heavy weight and the soaring hopes of over 100 million Filipinos squarely on her young shoulders. Her remarkable story begins long before this astonishing European takeover made the headlines. It begins with a relentless, almost obsessive dedication to the sport, characterized by her bold decision to move thousands of miles away from home at a very young age to live and train at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. That monumental move was a massive statement of intent. It showed the entire world that she was not just content with being a local champion in Southeast Asia. She was deliberately setting her sights on conquering the very pinnacle of global tennis. And the results of that sacrifice have been nothing short of spectacular. We all remember that historic, tear-jerking moment when she captured the United States Open Junior Singles Championship, officially becoming the first Filipino to ever achieve a junior Grand Slam singles title. That phenomenal victory alone cemented her status as a beloved national icon, but it was clear to everyone watching that it was only the beginning of a much larger, much grander journey. Since that historic triumph in New York, her highly anticipated transition into the incredibly competitive, absolutely ruthless professional women's circuit has been closely, anxiously watched by devoted fans across the globe. She has battled fiercely through the grueling ITF circuit, claiming hard-fought professional titles, and proving time and time again that she possesses the grit, the incredible physical stamina, and the sheer, unadulterated talent required to compete against older, more seasoned veterans of the sport. We have seen her proudly, fiercely represent the Philippines at the Asian Games, playing her heart out to bring home historic bronze medals, and effectively ending decades of painful drought for her country in the sport of tennis. Every single step of the way, her dedicated fan base has grown exponentially. But what we are witnessing right now, with this jaw-dropping Stuttgart mobilization, is a massive, unprecedented evolution of that support. It is no longer just about passively watching her on a television screen in Manila or anxiously tracking her live scores on a smartphone. It is about physical, undeniable presence. It is about the global Filipino community making a collective, conscious decision that they're going to show up in person, in numbers that defy logic, to ensure she never, ever feels alone when she steps onto the court. Let us take a moment to talk about the profound logistical and cultural phenomenon of 60,000 Filipinos descending upon a single German city. The Filipino diaspora is widely recognized as one of the most widespread, deeply connected, and closely knit global communities in the entire world. There are millions of incredibly hardworking Filipinos living, working, and thriving across the continent of Europe, in Italy, in Spain, in the United Kingdom, in France, and of course, right there in Germany itself. When the breaking news hit the internet that Alex Eala would be competing in Stuttgart, it acted like a powerful clarion call. Social media networks, tightly knit community groups, and local expatriate organizations immediately kicked into high gear. This isn't just a casual weekend trip for these dedicated fans. It is a full-blown sporting pilgrimage. It is a rare, golden opportunity to gather together, to proudly celebrate their shared cultural heritage, and to bear witness to sporting history being made in real time. The beautiful, traditional concept of Bayanihan, the deep-rooted Filipino spirit of communal unity, shared work, and flawless cooperation, is being perfectly and spectacularly showcased here. We are hearing incredible reports of fans organizing massive carpools across various European borders, community leaders booking out entire blocks of hotels and hostels months in advance, and fan clubs meticulously coordinating their deafening cheers, their giant flags, and their comprehensive support systems. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart, where this phenomenal event is taking place, is widely considered one of the most unique, highly respected, and prestigious tournaments on the entire WTA calendar. Played on very specific indoor clay courts, it routinely attracts the absolute best, most highly ranked players in the world. It is a tournament famous for its incredibly high-performance atmosphere, its luxury automotive sponsor, and its highly knowledgeable, but traditionally very polite and reserved European tennis audience. Into this highly refined, incredibly high-stakes, and somewhat quiet environment steps Alexandra Eala, followed closely by an absolute, unstoppable tidal wave of 60,000 passionate, vocal supporters. The impending clash of cultures is going to be nothing short of spectacular to witness. The traditional polite, golf clap applause will be instantly replaced by deafening, chest-thumping cheers, rhythmic, pulsating drumming, and passionate national chants that will echo fiercely to the rafters of the Porsche Arena and bleed out into the streets. German sports fans are certainly used to incredibly loud, boisterous crowds when it comes to their beloved football matches, but to see this unprecedented level of intense, patriotic fervor completely take over and dominate a professional tennis tournament will be an absolute shock to the sporting system. Tournament organizers and local authorities are undoubtedly having to completely rethink and overhaul their entire security protocols, their crowd control measures, and their hospitality strategies. Because the ultimate question is, how on earth do you adequately accommodate a crowd that is exponentially larger, infinitely louder, and vastly more passionate than anything your historic tournament has ever hosted in its entire existence? But we must also look deeply at the psychological aspect of this incredible situation, specifically for Alex Eala herself. Professional tennis is a notoriously, brutally lonely sport. When you are out there on the court, you are completely isolated. You are battling not just elite opponents standing across the net, but also your own inner demons, your physical fatigue, your mental exhaustion, and your creeping doubts. For many young players try and make their mark, traveling the world week after week and playing in foreign countries where they know no one can be an incredibly isolating and draining experience. But for Alex, as she prepares for Stuttgart, that traditional narrative is completely, radically flipped upside down. She is effectively preparing to play the biggest, most monumental home game of her entire life, thousands and thousands of miles away from her actual home in Manila. The kinetic energy transfer between a massive crowd and a single athlete is a very real, very measurable, and incredibly powerful phenomenon. When she walks out from the tunnel onto that red clay court and hears the absolute roar of 60,000 Cababayans, her fiercely loyal countrymen, it will provide an instant, massive adrenaline rush that money simply cannot buy. It will remind her, in the most visceral, emotional way possible, exactly who she's playing for and exactly what she represents. Of course, we have to acknowledge that with this massive, unprecedented level of support comes a very unique, very heavy kind of pressure. The sheer expectation to perform at your absolute best when tens of thousands of people have spent their hard-earned money and traveled across entire continents just to see you swing a racket can be incredibly overwhelming for any athlete, let alone a teenager. But if there is anything Alexandra Eala has unequivocally proven during her grueling years at the Rafa Nadal Academy and her tough battles on professional tour, it is that she possesses an incredibly resilient, deeply focused, and remarkably mature mindset. She has been meticulously molded by some of the greatest, most experienced minds in the history of tennis to handle exactly these types of high-pressure, high-stakes situations. Rather than crumbling or folding under the immense weight of these 60,000 roaring voices, she is far more likely to absorb and harness that raw energy, using it as a potent, invisible weapon against her opponents. And frankly, we have to spare a thought for whoever has the incredibly daunting task of playing against her in this tournament. Imagine being a top-ranked, highly seeded professional player, confidently stepping onto a familiar court in Germany, fully expecting a neutral, quiet crowd, only to be suddenly met with an absolute wall of sound every single time you make a minor, unforced error, and a massive, earth-shaking explosion of joy every time your opponent hits a winning shot. The psychological warfare, completely organically driven by the fans, will be incredibly intense. It will thoroughly test the mental fortitude, the focus, and the emotional stability of every single player who dares to stand on the opposite side of the net from Alex Eala. This monumental event is also a massive, undeniable statement about the commercial, economic, and global power of the Filipino sporting audience. For decades, massive international sports brands, lucrative sponsors, and elite tournament organizers have somewhat overlooked or underestimated the Southeast Asia market when it comes to the sport of tennis. Historically, the sport has been heavily dominated by and catered to European and North American audiences. But this incredible Stuttgart invasion changes that entire financial and strategic calculus in the blink of an eye. When 60,000 highly engaged fans mobilize across borders for a single, unseeded player, corporate sponsors immediately take notice. Major television broadcasters take notice. The top executives of the WTA Tour take notice. This event definitively proves that Alexandra Eala is not just a highly talented athlete. She is a massive, undeniable commercial draw. She is a demographic powerhouse all on her own. Her mere presence in a tournament draw guarantees an immediate, massive influx of television viewers, skyrocketing ticket sales, and merchandise revenue that is almost entirely unparalleled for a player of her age and current global ranking. Because of this, we are highly likely to see a massive, paradigm-shifting change in how Alex Eala is marketed and promoted on a global scale. In the future, we will undoubtedly see her receiving more prestigious main draw wildcards, more lucrative primetime television scheduling, and vastly more media attention focused on her matches, simply because the multi-billion-dollar business of professional sports cannot afford to ignore a fan base that is this dedicated, this vocal, and this incredibly massive. Furthermore, the long-term, cascading impact of this unprecedented event on the actual sport of tennis within the borders of the Philippines itself is going to be absolutely astronomical. Seeing a young Filipina absolutely command a global sporting stage, surrounded by tens of thousands of adoring, flag-waving fans in a major, sophisticated European city, will instantly inspire an entire new generation of young, hopeful kids back home. Tennis courts across the entire Philippine archipelago, from the bustling streets of Manila to the farthest corners of Mindanao, will undoubtedly see a massive, immediate surge in young boys and girls picking up rackets, hitting tennis balls against walls, and daring to dream of one day being the next Alex Eala. It firmly validates tennis as a highly viable, deeply celebrated path to international glory and national pride for Filipinos. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they absolutely belong on the world's biggest, most prestigious sporting stages, not just as quiet participants making up the numbers, but as the undeniable, blockbuster main attraction. The true, lasting legacy of this incredible tournament in Stuttgart will not just be written in the cold, hard statistics of the win-loss columns. It will be written in the beating hearts of millions of young aspiring athletes who are watching this history unfold and finally realizing that their wildest, biggest dreams are actually completely valid and attainable. As we slowly wrap up this extensive, detailed look into what can only be described as a completely historic, watershed moment in modern sports history, we have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and truly marvel at the sheer, impossible scale of what is about to happen in Stuttgart. We started this comprehensive discussion by talking about massive numbers. 60,000 traveling fans, a major European economic hub, a highly prestigious international tennis tournament. But ultimately, when you peel back the layers, this story transcends mere numbers and statistics. It is a deeply moving story about the profound, unbreakable, almost spiritual connection between a proud nation and its sporting heroes. Alexandra Eala has managed to achieve something that very, very few athletes in the entire history of any global sport have ever managed to do. She has successfully unified a massive, globally dispersed population and given them a singular, beautiful reason to come together, to travel thousands of miles, to celebrate their shared identity, and to raise their voices in absolute harmonious unison. The fact that she has managed to do this in the traditionally quiet, highly individualized, and often isolating world of professional tennis makes the feat all the more extraordinary and worthy of our utmost respect. The upcoming days and weeks in Stuttgart are absolutely guaranteed to be a sporting spectacle unlike anything the Women's Tennis Association has ever witnessed in its long history. We are about to be treated to a beautiful, chaotic, and breathtaking collision of elite, high-stakes athleticism, and unparalleled, deeply rooted cultural pride. Whether Alex Eala manages to fight her way through the draw and raise the championship trophy, or whether she simply fights her absolute hardest and leaves everything she has on those red clay courts, the ultimate victory has, in many profound ways, already been won. The bold statement has been made loud and clear for the entire world to hear. The Philippines has officially arrived in the elite world of professional tennis, and they have arrived with a massive, undeniable force that simply cannot be stopped, cannot be silenced, and cannot be ignored. The deafening echoes of the passionate cheers from those 60,000 dedicated fans will continue to resonate long after the final match point is played and the final tennis ball is struck. They will echo loudly in the plush boardrooms of international sports sponsors. They will echo in the locker rooms of the WTA Tour as players whisper about the atmosphere, and most importantly, they will echo warmly in the living rooms of every single Filipino family who watches the broadcast with tears of absolute pride streaming down their faces. This is without a doubt a massive, defining chapter in the already incredible legacy of Alexandra Eala. She is no longer just a promising rising star or a talented prospect. She has officially become a global phenomenon, fiercely backed by an absolute army of dedicated supporters who have proven they will follow her to the very ends of the earth to show their love. As she confidently steps onto the clay court in Germany, she carries with her not just her racket and her immense talent, but the towering dreams, the unmatched resilience, and the relentless, fighting spirit of her beloved homeland. And for the rest of the professional tennis world, the new message is incredibly simple and highly intimidating. You are no longer just playing a tennis match against Alexandra Eala. You are stepping onto the court to play against the collective heart, the roaring voice, and the unbreakable soul of the entire Philippines. We will be keeping a very close, highly attentive eye on every single powerful serve, every single delicate volley, and every single emotional moment of this incredible, unprecedented tournament. Sporting history is quite literally being written right before our very eyes, and it is an absolute privilege for all of us to bear witness to it. Thank you so much for joining me today on this comprehensive deep dive into the absolute, historic takeover of Stuttgart by Alex Eala and her incredible world-traveling fans. If you are as utterly amazed, fascinated, and inspired by this incredible story as I am, please make sure you hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you never, ever miss a single update on this rapidly developing, phenomenal story. I want to hear directly from you in the comments section below. Are you one of the lucky 60,000 planning to actually be there in Germany? How far do you honestly think Alex can go in this highly competitive tournament with this massive crowd behind her? Let's get a massive, passionate discussion going down there. Keep supporting our amazing athletes. Keep flying that beautiful flag high for the world to see. And until next time, stay passionate, stay proud, and keep watching the courts. If you had the chance to witness a historic sporting event like this in person, what would be the first thing you'd pack to show your support?